blasters are full.
What's up guys, Gripe here with another action figure review. Today we're going to check out the Play Arts Kai variant Iron Man figure from Square Enix. So we'll start off with the packaging, which is pretty damn cool. You can see this really awesome artwork here on the front. Really nice artwork, and that carries over onto the side here. And then on the back we've got Iron Man in a few different poses. That is the actual figure. And on this side we have Play Arts Kai logo with Iron Man. And same thing on the top here, along with a warning: please do not eat these parts, they do look tasty. And Square Enix logo on the bottom. This packaging does have a flap that opens up. It is secured with magnets, and when you open that up you are greeted with a nice big window to view the figure and its accessories in all their awesome glory. You also get some nice artwork on the inside here, as well as some text explaining Iron Man and the figure. And I will zoom in a bit so hopefully you guys can read that. Just pause the video and give it a glance. When you do get the box open, you'll find this cardboard insert behind the figure, and it has all the instructions on how to use the accessories, how to build the stand, and the stand itself in the blister pack here. Which does kind of suck because you have to rip it away from the cardboard to get at it, but you do get a stand, so that's not too bad. And here's all the stand pieces laid out. I was missing a washer, I just don't know if it didn't come with it or I lost it. And here's the stand fully assembled. The stand itself is okay. It's really not all that sturdy, but it's not too bad for a free stand, I suppose. It does come with two calipers, the small ones and the large ones here. And it's pretty easy to switch these out. You just pop it out here, and then you replace them with the other ones. And you can see there what I'm talking about, it being kind of flimsy and not that stable. There's really no way to secure the top of the stand to the bottom of the stand, those two pieces there. It just kind of fits in like that. But it is what it is. And they do provide you with this tool here so you can tighten the bolts into the nuts in the calipers when you're building them. So now we'll check out all the accessories that come with this figure before my cat eats them, cat not included. This figure comes with a total of 3 sets of hands. You have the closed fist hands, and these come installed on the figure. And you can see all the great details with the battle damage, not only in the paint apps but also the sculpt. I love how they make it look like the paint's worn away from fighting. And you also have the open, relaxed hands here. And you can see the same level of detail on these. You really see all these nice dings and scratches in the paint and the sculpt here. Just looks really good. And you can see on the palm these great repulsors with nice silver paint on them. And we also have a set of hands that are actually firing the repulsor beam. And these are pretty much the same as the relaxed hands, except they have the repulsor here. And the sculpt and paint on this repulsor beam is really nice. I like the silver accents that they painted on there. And it is a translucent plastic. It just looks really good. We've got some nice jet blasts for the feet. These have a really nice detailed sculpt on them. They also have a really great paint. I like the silver accent on the back here, and the translucent plastic is a gradient from a yellow to an orange reddish to a purple on the end. And here we have the air brake flaps, and these plug into the back of the figure. You can see a nice battle damage sculpted into here. You also have a really nice paint job. You can see all those golds and silvers on there, very crisp and detailed, and they are articulated. There's a little ball and peg joint there. You plug them into the back, you can rotate them around, and they do hinge up and out. And now we'll check out the missile launchers for the legs, and I really like these. You can see this great sculpt here on the missile smoke coming out of them. And they also use that silver accent paint that they used on the repulsor and the jet blast. Looks really nice. You can see the nice battle damage here on the leg panel. And the missiles themselves do pop in and out. There's a little hole in there that the peg goes into, so you can display them with the missiles coming out or without. So now we'll check out the figure itself, and we will start with the sculpt and paint on the figure, both of which are really nicely detailed. I especially like all the battle damage that they've added to this. It really makes it look like this guy's just been through hell. There's a lot of nice scrapes and scratches in the paint job, and there's a lot of dings and dents in the actual armor itself that are sculpted in. You can see here on the chin and helmet there's a lot of scrapes and little dings, and it just looks really nice. Same thing here with the legs. A lot of deep scars in the armor and scratches all over it. You can see it here on the thighs as well. And it's not just the battle damage. You can see all these nice little details here in between the armor pieces on the leg. And these calf sections are articulated, and you can lift them up and you have more details sculpted in underneath. Looks almost like a jet or a vent back here, and that's all sculpted detail, which is really nice. You can also see the nice clean paint on the red up the top there. And you get more details on the back of the legs here near the ankles, and the feet are nicely detailed. There's a lot of battle damage on them as well, and nice little just lines and contours sculpted into them. There's also some good treading on the bottom, and you do have some peg holes on the feet. And you can see some additional details sculpted into the inner thigh here, which is nice. I'm not the hugest fan of this section here, the waist area. This is a soft plastic that they used and just kind of doesn't sit right. It does help with the articulation, and it is nicely detailed with the sculpt and paint. You can see all these little details here on the butt, but a lot of times it'll just look off the way it hangs on the figure. And you can see they added some sculpted details on the inside of the shoulder joint, which is good because it can be a little loose and just pop out. And these flaps on the back just pop right out, and everything is painted and sculpted well underneath. And that little hole is where the peg from the articulated air brakes goes into. It pops in just kind of like that. And I really like this red they used. It's a nice deep rich red and metallic and very glossy. I also like the gold here, especially the gradients they've applied to the gold paint. You can see how it's lighter at the peak of the muscle here and gets darker towards the arm. And they've used a similar effect around the eyes. You've got this really rich gold underneath, and it goes to a lighter, almost silver color around the nose and forehead. I also really like these black notched ridges that go up the neck here. Those are all sculpted and look very nice. And the arc reactor itself is a clear plastic over a silver paint. So now let's check out the articulation on the figure, and overall it is a very well articulated figure. The head moves up about that high and looks down about that far. And the head and neck are on separate joints. As you can see, you can move the neck about that much by itself and the head that much by itself. You can also get some side to side, and that's about the extent of what you're getting. You can also rotate the head completely around once you raise the head up so the chin clears the neck. My only real issue with the head area is the bottom of the neck here pokes out over the armor when you have the neck all the way back, and it looks kind of weird. Other than that, it's a pretty well articulated head. Now we'll check out the arms, and they do raise up about that high. And like most of the joints on this figure, these are ratcheting type joints. And the shoulder joint itself is a ball and peg, and the peg is attached to a hinge on the inside of the body. And my main gripe with this is just that the hinges tend to be a little bit loose, and the shoulders kind of fall away from the body. And you do get full rotation of the arm. And you can see here, once you pop it back in, it does hold pretty well, but as soon as it's away from the body at all, it gets really loose. And you do have some bicep swivel here, but it is limited by the sculpt on the shoulder armor, so you can't get too much of a swivel. And it is a single jointed elbow, and you do get a bit over 90-degree bend on it, so it's not too bad, and does extend completely straight. The wrists have good articulation. As you can see, you can get 90 degrees up and almost 90 degrees down. You can also get full rotation on that. My main issue with the wrist joint is how visible it is. Same with the elbow here, the inside of the elbow. It's just like a circle popping out of the elbow. And the wrist itself is just a circle. You can hide it a bit while you're posing it, but it's still very obvious and looks very similar to a Revoltech type joint. And now we'll take a look at the diaphragm joint. You can move them back about that far and forward about that far. It's not that much, but it's not that bad. I did notice when I was moving them back that it looks like the same type of joint that they have in the shoulders with the hinge and ball and peg, and it suffers from some of the same problems in that it's a bit loose. You can get that much side to side, which is pretty good, and you can get full rotation on him on the diaphragm. And the waist, you can move forward about that far. Again, it's not that much, but it's serviceable, and back that far. But you do get some good side to side on the waist, as you can see here. And you also have full rotation on the waist. And this is one of the areas where the soft plastic hip area or belt area does work out pretty well, and it doesn't really hinder any of that articulation. But they made it a little bit wide, so it just kind of sits on there funny. And again, I'm not the hugest fan of it, but it definitely does help with the articulation. As you can see, you kind of just have to position it sometimes so it doesn't look so bad. Now moving down to the hips, and again, these are the ratchet type joints, so you do have to make sure you kind of force a little bit to get the full range of motion out of them. And that's as far apart as you can get the legs. And there is a bit of a swivel here. I wouldn't necessarily call it an upper thigh swivel as it's a whole leg that moves, but you do get a little bit of rotation out of it. And thanks to the soft plastic belt area, you do have really good range of motion kicking forward. You can see you can get 90 degrees there, and backwards. You can get them almost 90 degrees going back, so you can pretty much have them in a split position like that, which is actually pretty good. And sadly, there is no other rotation on the leg other than at the hip joint, so as you can see, you can't really rotate the leg at all. You do have double jointed knees, and you have really good bend on those. You can get them almost all the way back, which is pretty good. And you do have pretty good articulation on the ankles. You can see you can get those feet really far down, which is good for flying, and they go up a bit, but not that far. You do have some ankle pivot, but it's kind of like the Black Series ankle pivot where it rotates the whole foot while you're doing it. Not pure ankle pivot. And you do have some swivel. You can kind of get it almost all the way around there, but you do have to watch out for the lower leg armor, as it does hinder it in some positions. And the calf flaps are articulated, as I showed before. You can get those open, which is a nice little feature, and those do close nice and flush. Now I'll take a quick look at the size and scale. As you can see, he stands just a hair over 10 inches tall, and here he is compared to the Marvel Legends Mark 43 Iron Man. So overall, I think it's a great figure with awesome accessories, a really nicely detailed paint and sculpt. It does have some loose joints and a bit of a flimsy stand.
Set blasters on full.